Today on Variant, we're counting down the 10 best DC stories in the history of ever. Welcome to Variant, where we love comics more than I wanted to marry Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman as a kid. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm your host, Arris. We are knee-deep in DC month here on Variant, and today we're taking on the pretty daunting task of counting down the 10 best DC stories of all time. Obviously, this is a very difficult list to narrow down because over the past 80 plus years, DC has created many of the most iconic storylines in all of comics. So trying to reduce it down to the best 10 was not easy. So to help whittle it down, we removed all the major DC-wide crossover events like Crisis on Infinite Earths or Flashpoint and tried to stick with stories that were contained within a single title. That also gives us the option to do a list of the best crossover arcs in a future episode. But without any further ado, let's get this party started. Leading off at number 10 is the epic 1984 Teen Titans story, The Judas Contract. This story is both amazing and important for several reasons, starting with the patient and brilliant storytelling by Marv Wolfman and George Perez, who slowly set the stage for this tale of betrayal over many issues even before the Judas Contract series began. The story focuses on a new addition to the Titans named Tara Markov, who is eventually revealed to be working as a spy for Deathstroke. And by the time they realize Tara's betrayal, she has already given Deathstroke all the information he needs to take them apart one by one. In the Judas Contract, we see the Teen Titans at one of their lowest points, as the members of the team are exposed to some of the darkest realities of crime fighting for the first time. The story is so good, in fact, that it was recently turned into a DC animated film and was released just last month. But in addition to the incredible storytelling, the Judas Contract brought us Dick Grayson's transition into Nightwing and solidified Deathstroke's role as one of the greatest villains in comics. For those reasons and many more, it safely lands on our list. At number 9 is the JLA Tower of Babel, written by Mark Waid in 2000. This incredibly popular story was written for the JLA issues 43 through 46 and was also adapted into an animated film called Justice League Doom, which is one of my favorites. It's basically a Batman story within the Justice League title that explores the depths of Batman's paranoia, along with the negative potential of his methods. In short, trust between Batman and the rest of the Justice League is destroyed when Ra's al Ghul manages to steal Batman's files, revealing that Batman had been keeping secret files on every other member of the League. Files that detailed each of their strengths and weaknesses, as well as contingency plans for how to defeat each member should they ever turn to the dark side. The consequences for this apparent betrayal come quickly, as Ra's al Ghul uses Batman's plans to systematically take down every member of the Justice League, including Superman. And with the League out of the way, Ra's al Ghul constructs a tower in order to deploy a technology designed to disrupt the language processing center of every person on the planet, creating total chaos. In the end, and with the help of Talia al Ghul, the Justice League manages to stop Ra's al Ghul before it's too late. But the trust between Batman and the other members is heavily damaged, and he's voted out of the League. This story is just a great character study of Batman and his relationship to the Justice League. If you haven't read it already, get on that, like soon. Landing at number 8 is one of the best superhero stories to come out of the past 10 years, and that is Grant Morrison's AllStar Superman. This 12-issue series that ran from 2005 to 2008 was Morrison's tip of the hat to the Silver Age of comics and celebrates all of the characteristics that define Superman as a hero. The story starts with the Man of Steel dealing with his own mortality after a lethal dose of solar radiation leaves him with only 1 year left to live. It then follows Clark/Kal-El as he taps into the best parts of himself in order to prepare his loved ones and the rest of the world for life without Superman. AllStar Superman is amazingly well written and has tons of heart, but more than that, it managed to take a fresh look at one of the oldest characters in all of comics, while simultaneously reminding fans of everything they loved about Superman in the first place. Not surprisingly, DC Animation gave AllStar Superman its own movie in 2011, and if you've read and loved the series, it's definitely worth a watch. In short, AllStar Superman is easily one of the best Superman stories of all time, earning its place on our list and proving yet again that he is the world's greatest superhero. Coming in at number 7 is the Sinestro Corps War, written by Jeff Johns and Dave Gibbons. This epic Green Lantern story ran from August 2007 to February 2008. It introduced the fear-powered Sinestro Corps, leading to a massive expansion of the Green Lantern universe as a whole. We also saw Sinestro himself reinvented into something of a dictator, modeled after some of history's worst tyrants, as he formed the Sinestro Corps to battle and overtake the Green Lanterns. This massive space opera reintroduced cosmic action to the DC universe in a big way, and challenged challenge the Green Lanterns like never before by throwing some of DC's most dangerous villains at the team, including Superboy Prime, Parallax, and even the freaking Anti-Monitor. Overall, the Sinestro Corps War is considered by many to be the definitive Green Lantern story, not to mention the amazing artwork from heavy hitter artists like Ethan Van Sciver, Ivan Reis, and Patrick Gleason. It's some of the best ever to see on DC pages. At number 6, we have iconic writer Alan Moore's Watchmen. This is the only story to make the list that doesn't feature any iconic DC heroes or villains, and that alone says how good it really is. Watchmen is a 12-issue series published between 1986 and October of 1987 that revolves around alternate versions of a group of superhero characters that DC acquired from Charlton Comics in 1985. It's a deep, multi-layered story based in the Cold War era of the 80s that explores some of the darker aspects of human nature through the lens of the deeply flawed heroes. In short, Watchmen is a freaking masterclass by Alan Moore on comic book storytelling that has since become a cult classic among comic fans. And I can't forget to mention that Watchmen has recently become more relevant than ever, with the DC Rebirth event hinting that Dr. Manhattan is the one responsible for the New 52, which is just crazy and awesome. All in all, Watchmen is one of the best DC stories of all time. And that's 5 down, but we got 5 to go. So before we get to the top 5, let's take a quick break. I'm gonna shave his balloon while talking.
Why?
I don't know. Yeah, that's good. Are you sick of choosing between overpriced razors and low-quality plastic disposables? Dollar Shave Club has your solution. Their razors provide high quality, close to the shave price for disposable. DollarShaveClub.com delivers amazing razors right to your front door for a fraction of the price that I used to pay. Just go to DollarShaveClub.com and pick a razor that works for you from their lineup of amazing blades. They're all just $1 for the first month, including free shipping. With Dollar Shave Club, you can look, smell, and shave like $1 million without paying it. So go discover why millions of members like me love Dollar Shave Club by getting your 1-month trial of any razor for just $1. Seriously, there's no catch or hidden fees, commitments, and you can cancel whenever the heck you want, and with free shipping. So go to DollarShaveClub.com/variant to get a 1-month membership of any razor for just $1. Get it shipped free to your house and find out what it's like to use a razor that's so good, it can shave a balloon. Diving back in and rounding out the top 5 is Superman Red Sun, which in my opinion is one of the coolest Superman concepts ever written. Writer Mark Millar asked the simple but serious question, what if Kal-El had landed in the former Soviet Union instead of a cornfield in Kansas? Something that would have had enormous consequences for the character and his world. Instead of fighting for truth, justice, and the American way, he'd be a champion for a communist regime with very different ideas and ambitions. Well, in 2003, Millar played out this scenario in this amazing 3-part miniseries. In addition to this very different version of the Man of Steel, we see a President Lex Luthor, other altered DC heroes like Green Lantern, Batman, and Wonder Woman, and even see Jimmy Olsen as a CIA agent. It's an incredibly well-written what-if story that you definitely want to read for yourself. At number 4 is visually one of the coolest comics of all time, and that would be Kingdom Come, once again written by Mark Waid, with art by the incredible Alex Ross. One look at the pages of this 4-issue miniseries is more than enough to lock you in, but then you get the added bonus of the incredible Elseworld story by Waid. In short, we see a future DC universe where members of the original Justice League are much older and have all but retired. But the new generation of heroes have adapted more reckless and brutal methods of fighting crime, which seriously blurs the line between hero and villain. To protect the world and the human race, Superman leads a group of the Old Guard into one last battle in order to set things right. And this doesn't just make for an epic action-packed story, it's also something of a reminder of what a hero really should be, in a world increasingly struggling with the darker side of humanity. It's beautiful, it's a great freaking read, and you should really pick it up if you haven't already. Speeding at number 3 is Flash Rebirth. You see what I did there? No, not the current Flash Rebirth, but the awesome 2009 6-issue limited series written by Jeff Johns with the absolutely insane art by Ethan Van Sciver. This story is the culmination of events that began and were teased at the end of Final Crisis, and also gave us the dramatic return of Barry Allen as the Scarlet Speedster, after being dead for 20 freaking years, as well as some other crazy iconic reveals. It also brought Wally West into his own as a true hero, and has one of my favorite villains of all time, Reverse Flash. It's just an incredibly fun, multi-layered story with great characters that manage to tap into everything most of us love about the Flash as a character. Not to mention, Ethan Van Sciver just killed it with the art for the series. I mean, come on, just look at that. It's beautiful. Now, I realize that some of you might disagree with this pick, especially at number 3, but it holds a special place in my comic book loving heart, and for me, it deserves the love. At runner-up is yet again another classic from writer Alan Moore, and that is Batman: The Killing Joke. It's a dark and incredibly well-written story that takes a hard look at the thin line that separates good guys from the bad, and it does this by exploring the relationship between Batman and the Joker. Moore perfectly mixes the violent and gruesome action with thought-provoking themes, as the Joker sets out to prove to Batman that all it takes for a normal person to turn to madness is one really bad day. The Joker sets out to make his point by committing disturbingly grisly acts of violence against Barbara Gordon and Jim Gordon, showing the Joker in a maniacal light never seen before that time, intertwined with flashbacks to the Joker's origin and possible events that pushed him over the edge. Alan Moore and artist Brian Boland use these pieces to dissect both the Joker and Batman as individual characters, and then display the differences between them as well as their shocking similarities. In the end, we're left with one of the greatest comic book stories ever, and the thought that Alan Moore might not just be one of the best Batman writers ever, he might be one of the most important writers in the history of comics. Last but certainly not least, at number 1 is none other than Frank Miller's 1986 4-part series, The Dark Knight Returns. Not to sound cliche, but even after 30 years, this story is pretty much universally considered a masterpiece. It's a gritty dystopian Batman saga that revolves around an aging and tormented Bruce Wayne who returns to the Cape and Cowl to clean up the now crime-ridden streets of Gotham, only to find a city and world no longer friendly to his vigilante methods. Since this book's release, we've had many edgy Batman stories, but The Dark Knight Returns was the first time Batman was seen as such a rough, vicious brute. It not only changed the character of Batman forever, it also had a permanent effect on the comic book industry as a whole. In just 4 issues, Miller managed to demonstrate just how powerful comic book storytelling can be, by giving his story a real-world tone and anchoring it in social and political critiques that are shockingly relevant even today. The story has also gone on to generate a movie by DC Animation, as well as being used heavily as inspiration for last year's Batman v Superman movie and Ben Affleck's version of Batman going forward. Bottom line, whether you're a comic fan or just someone who loves great storytelling, The Dark Knight Returns is a must-read that I can't recommend enough. But that wraps up our list of DC's 10 best stories of all time. As always, be sure to let us know what your list would be in the comment section down below. First up for Wednesday, May 17th, we have Batman issue 23. In the wake of Bane's attack, Batman must face the destruction left behind and follow through on his promises to Gotham Girl and Catwoman by making the most crushing sacrifices yet. Now we have Super Sons issue 4, When I Grow Up part 4. As our young heroes struggle to break free from the deadly Kid Amazo's control, they discover the truth behind this young villain's power. And finally, we have The Flash issue 22. This is the finale to the Button story. Hopefully by the end of this issue we get some answers about Dr. Manhattan and the Watchmen's involvement with DC Rebirth. And just like that, that brings another episode of Variant to a close. But if you like the channel, be sure to subscribe and then hit the little bell next to it so you're notified whenever we upload a new video. But as always, you can like our Variant Facebook page to keep up with the show and all things comic related. You can also follow Variant on Twitter at Variant Comics or me on Twitter at Arris_Quinones. But I'll see you guys next week when I talk about all things comics. So you're like, how come you don't trust me, Bruce? And he's like, yo, everyone could go bad. I just need a plan. Yeah. Teen Titans. You get it? Because of the old TV show.